Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this video, we will be going to attempt the topical past papers of the chapter Mitotic Cell Cycle from AS Level Biology 9700. These are the paper 1 past papers, and let's start with the MCQ number 1. The MCQ number 1 states that the graph shows the length of the spindle fibers during mitosis. So on the y-axis we have the length of the spindle fibers, and on the x-axis we have the time. The question is, which region of the graph shows when the centromeres detach from the spindle fibers? So always remember that centromeres detach from the spindle fibers in the telophase, because at the telophase the nuclear division ends and the centromeres detach from the spindle fibers. And you should know that in the telophase the length of the spindle fibers is shortest. So the answer is D. You can recall from this image that in telophase the spindle fibers are almost absent. So the length of the spindle fiber is shortest in telophase when the centromeres detach from the spindle fibers. If the question was the centromeres attach to the spindle fibers, so centromeres attach to the spindle fibers or chromosomes attach to the spindle fibers in metaphase when the length of the spindle fibers is maximum, and in that case the answer would be B. Let's move towards the next MCQ. MCQ number 2. Meiosis and mitosis are two types of cell division. A cell has 10 chromosomes before it divides. How many chromosomes will it have after dividing by meiosis or mitosis? So you guys should know that when a cell divides by meiosis, its chromosome number is reduced to half, and when a cell divides by mitosis, its chromosome number remains the same. So we have 10 chromosomes in the cell. If this cell divides by meiosis, the chromosome number will become 5, and if the cell divides by mitosis, the chromosome number will remain 10. So the answer will be A. Let's move towards the third question. Which statement about a diploid cell is not correct? So let's move towards the explanation, towards the description of the diploid and the haploid cell. We should know the differences between the diploid and the haploid cell. So how do we define a diploid cell? Diploid cell is a cell which contains two sets of chromosomes. Any cell which has two sets of chromosomes, what does that mean? That one set is from the father and one set is from the mother. For example, in the human cells we have how many chromosomes? 46 chromosomes. And the diploid human cell basically contains 46 chromosomes, and one set is from the father, which is known as the paternal set, and one set is from the mother, which is known as the maternal set. So each set contains 23 chromosomes, making total of 46 chromosomes. So this is a diploid cell which contains two sets of chromosomes. And diploid cell is denoted as 2n, which means that 2n means that n is the number of chromosomes in one set, and there are two sets, so the chromosomes will be 2 into n. What is haploid cell then? Haploid cell is a cell which contains a single set of chromosomes in its nucleus. There will be only single set. And haploid cell is denoted by n, again where n represents the number of chromosomes in a single set or in one set. When we talk about a diploid cell can divide by both mitosis and meiosis. A diploid cell can divide by mitosis and meiosis both. So when a diploid cell divides by mitosis, the chromosome number remains the same. When the diploid cell divides by meiosis, the chromosome number is reduced to half. So we can say that before meiosis, there were two sets of chromosomes, and after meiosis, now there is a single set of chromosome. When we talk about the haploid cell can only divide by mitosis. Why? What is the reason behind this? Because meiosis requires two sets of chromosomes. If a cell does not have two sets of chromosomes, then the cell cannot divide by meiosis. However, the haploid cell can divide by mitosis, and in which the chromosome number is maintained. So let's move towards the MCQ. Now we have the knowledge of the diploid and the haploid cells. So which statement about the diploid cell is not correct? It can undergo a mitotic division to allow growth to occur. This is the right statement because as we just mentioned that a diploid cell can undergo mitosis, and we also know that for an organism to grow, cells must divide by mitosis. The number of cells must increase. So let's move towards the statement B. It can undergo a mitotic division to repair a cell. Now this is the wrong statement. Why? Because you should know that to repair a cell, mitosis is not required. To repair a cell, the cell should carry out protein synthesis. Because to repair a cell, the cell has to replace a certain part of the cytoplasm or the cell surface membrane, and for that the cell needs protein synthesis. There is no need of nuclear division. So the wrong statement is B, and B is the answer, because we have to answer which statement is not correct. Now let's look at the statement C. It can undergo a reduction division. Yes, it can undergo reduction division. Reduction division is another name for meiosis, and when it will undergo reduction division, it will form haploid cells. As we just discussed, this is the right statement. It is the one that possesses 2 complete sets of chromosomes. This is also the right statement. Let's move towards the next MCQ. What describes the behavior of nuclear envelope and the cell membrane during mitosis? So we know that during mitosis, the nuclear membrane or nuclear envelope breaks down and the cell membrane remains intact. This is the fact. Let's move towards MCQ number 5. The table shows the percentages of bases in the DNA from various types of cells. What is the valid deduction from these data? So whatever deduction we have to make should be consistent with the data. Let's look at the statement A. All cells from the same species have approximately the same content of the DNA. What does the content mean? Content could mean the sequence of nucleotides, or the content could mean the amount. So in this data, we don't have the sequence of amino acids and we don't have the amount. We have the percentages. There's a difference between the amount and the percentage. So the statement A is wrong. Let's move to the statement B. Small differences in DNA from different cells have large effects. The effects are not shown in the data. So statement B is wrong again. It is not consistent with the data. The 4 bases show complementary base pairing. Yes, this is the right statement. This can be concluded or deducted from the data, because we can see that for every species or in every cell, we can see that adenine, the percentage of adenine is equal to the percentage of thymine, and the percentage of guanine is almost equal to the percentage of cytosine. The percentage of adenine is almost equal to the percentage of thymine, and the percentage of guanine is almost equal to the percentage of cytosine. It means that the bases show complementary base pairing, because if the bases are showing complementary base pairing, the percentages should be equal, almost equal or equal. Let's move towards MCQ number 6. The diagram shows the chromosomes of a typical plant cell at the metaphase stage of mitosis. Which row describes this cell during metaphase? So the diploid number 2n for the plant. The diploid number would be the number of chromosomes during metaphase of mitosis. So let's count the number of chromosomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 is a diploid number. And the structures present at the metaphase: cell wall will be present, centriole will be absent. Why? Because plant cells do not contain centrioles. Any other structures besides centriole is responsible for the organization of microtubules for the formation of the spindle. So spindle is there. The answer will be C. This is a point that students should note while answering such MCQs, that plant cells do not contain centrioles. Let's move towards the MCQ number 7. In which process does mitosis not have an important role in living things? Okay, so we know that mitosis has a role to play in asexual reproduction, resulting in the production of genetically identical offspring, growth of cells. Now, the students should know that the growth of cells occurs by protein synthesis and does not involve mitosis. You guys know that the growth of the cells occur in interphase, that is the G1 and the G2 phase, and does not involve any nuclear division or mitosis. So the answer is B. Increase in size? Yes, to increase in size, the cells should increase in number in an organism. Repair to the damaged tissues, it is true also, because when the tissues are damaged, the cells inside the tissues die, and to replace those cells, mitosis should occur. Let's move towards question number 8. The cell cycle includes mitosis. What are the features of the nuclear division? The point number 1 states forms cells of equal size to the parent cell. So this is not the feature of nuclear division. This is the feature of interphase, in which the growth occurs, so that when the two cells are formed from one cell, their size is equal to that of the parent cell. And this is also a feature of cytokinesis, which results in the cell division with equal sized cells. So one is not the feature of nuclear division. Forms genetically identical cells, yes, this is the feature of nuclear division. It is basically the feature of mitosis, because mitosis is a type of cell division which results in the production of genetically identical cells, or it is a type of nuclear division which results in the production of genetically identical nuclei. When we talk about statement 3, semi-conservative replication of DNA, it is not a feature of nuclear division, it is a feature of interphase. The DNA replication occurs in S phase, which is the phase which occurs during interphase. So the answer is A, 2 only. Question number 9. This is the repeated question. Let's skip this. Question number 10. Male bees are haploid. They develop from unfertilized eggs. Female bees are diploid. Now this is a challenging question, and you all must focus very well on it. So the information given is that male bees are haploid. It means that male bees, the cells in the male bees, can only divide by mitosis. They develop from unfertilized egg. Male bees develop from unfertilized eggs. Eggs are made by the female bees. Because female bees are diploid, their cells can divide by meiosis, producing haploid eggs. Which statements are correct? All male bees are genetically identical. No, they are not genetically identical. This statement is wrong. Why? Because when the cells of the female bees, for example, this is the cell of the female bee, which is a diploid cell, and when it divides by meiosis or reduction division, it produces haploid cells. And you should know that meiosis not only produces the haploid cells, but meiosis results in the production of genetically non-identical cells. So these are the eggs, some of which will develop into the male bee. For example, these two eggs are genetically non-identical. They are genetically non-identical. So if these two eggs develop into male bees, the male bees will be genetically non-identical as well. So this statement is wrong, that all bees are genetically identical. Let's move towards the point number 2. Male bee sperm cells are produced by mitosis, obviously, because the male bee cells are haploid, and then they can only undergo mitosis. This is a true statement, right? So how are the female bees produced? Basically, there's an egg from the female bee, which is haploid, and there is a sperm from the male bee, which is produced by mitosis. So these two cells fuse to form a diploid zygote, which develops into female bee, and that is 2n. This is fertilization process, if you recall from your O levels. Point number 3. New combination of genes only occur in the female bees. Yes, this is the true statement, because This is the true statement. Why? Because the female bees are produced by by fertilization, in which there will be new combination of genes. So the answer is C. Question number 11 or MCQ number 11. Cancer cells divide out of control, forming tumors. Which statement describes the difference between a cancer cell and a normal cell? Cancer cells do not undergo cytokinesis. No, they do. They do undergo cytokinesis. And this is the case with a normal cell as well. Cancer cells have a shorter interphase. Yes, this is true. Normal cells have a longer interphase. Cancer cells have a shorter interphase. They do not grow properly and they just divide very rapidly. Cancer cells do not have a metaphase, they do have metaphase. And only cancer cells have mutated DNA, not necessary. There are normal cells as well with mutated DNA. For example, the sickle cells in sickle cell anemia. Let's move towards MCQ number 12. During which state of mitotic cell cycle is DNA replicated? So you should know that DNA is replicated in S phase, and S phase is a part of interphase. Let's move towards MCQ number 13. Which statement describes a cell that is capable of reproduction and belonging to a haploid organism? The organism is haploid, has cells which have only a single set of chromosome and is capable of reproduction. So know that the reproduction will only occur by mitosis, and that is asexual reproduction. It will undergo cell division by mitosis during asexual reproduction. So answer is D. Let's rule out the other options. It has chromosomes that contain one polynucleotide chain. No. Any chromosome contains DNA, and DNA contains how many polynucleotide chains? 2 polynucleotide chains. So this is the wrong statement. Let's rule out statement B. It is capable of carrying out a reduction division. No. Haploid cells cannot carry out reduction division to form gametes. Haploid cells can produce gametes by mitosis. It possesses 2 copies of each gene as a result of fertilization. No. There are only 1 copy of each gene. There are not 2 copies of each gene because a particular gene is always present on a particular chromosome, and there's only 1 set of chromosome. If there were 2 sets of chromosomes, then there were 2 copies of each gene. And we know that fertilization does not occur. That's why the cell is haploid. MCQ number 14. What is the correct description of centrioles, nuclear envelope, and spindle during mitosis in animal cells? Animals do contain centrioles. So when we talk about anaphase, the centrioles replicate. No, the centrioles replicate during interphase. When we talk about metaphase, yes, centrioles are present. Nuclear membrane reforms. No. When we talk about prophase, centrioles move apart, nuclear membrane breaks up, and spindle forms. Yes, this is the answer. The fact. MCQ number 15. Chromosome telomeres promote DNA replication and are not completely replaced during mitosis. A substance X is known that completely replaces telomeres during mitosis. We know that as the cells divide, so they need DNA replication, and during DNA replication the telomeres shorten. So they're talking about a substance X which will replace the telomeres, which will prevent the telomeres from shortening. And if the telomere does not shorten, the cell can divide unlimited number of times. Whereas if the telomeres are shortening, there will be a time when the cell will stop dividing because the telomere will finish and the cell does not want to lose its vital genes. So what will be the effect of growing a cell culture with and without substance X? If we use a substance X, the telomeres will not shorten and the cells will divide continually. Without a substance X, the cell division eventually stops because telomeres shorten and finish. So the cell division will eventually stop and will eventually slow. The cell division eventually slows down and stops. So answer is A. Let's move towards MCQ number 16. Which statement describes events during interphase of the mitotic cell cycle? Chromatids are pulled apart by the spindle fibers. No, this phase is the anaphase in which chromatids are pulled apart. Chromosomes are replicated, ready for the next division. Yes, the chromosome replication or the DNA replication occurs during interphase. So this is the answer B. Okay, let's rule out the option C. Chromosomes line up on the equator of the spindle. This does not occur in interphase. This occurs in metaphase, in which chromosomes line up on the equator of the spindle. Chromosomes start to coil, becoming shorter and fatter. This occurs in prophase. Okay, let's move towards the next MCQ. That is MCQ number 17. Each of the following events take place during mitosis. In which order do this event take place? So let's start. So two chromatids are joined by a centromere. So that appearance is visible during prophase. So this phase is the prophase. We see chromosomes with two chromatids joined by a centromere in prophase. Before that, in interphase, we don't see the chromatids. Then the second statement will be that the chromosomes line up along the equator of the spindle, because this phase is the metaphase. So this is 1, this is 2. Okay. Then what happens? Chromosomes move to the opposite poles of the cell. Before that, the centromeres divide. The centromeres divide during anaphase. So this is early anaphase, in which the centromeres divide. The centromeres will divide, so the chromatids will separate, right? So this is early anaphase, we can say, and chromatids move to the opposite poles. This is the late anaphase, we can say. So this will be 3, this will be 4. And then what will happen? When the chromosomes reach to the opposite poles, they will uncoil. That is the telophase. So what will be the sequence? The sequence will be 5, then 3, then 1, then 2, then 4. So the answer will be D. Let's move towards the MCQ 18. Which of the following is true of cancer? Each mitotic division produces more than 2 daughter cells. No, this is not true about the cancer. The mitosis is same as that in the normal cells. Mitosis has stopped. No, mitosis is actually uncontrolled. So the answer is C. Let's move towards the MCQ 19. Mammalian skin cells in tissue culture were supplied with a source of radioactive thymine. At which stage in the cell cycle will the thymine be used in the nuclei? So thymine is required during DNA replication, and DNA replication occurs in interphase. So thymine will be used in the nuclei in the interphase. Let's move towards the MCQ 20. A diploid nucleus in a species of fruit fly has 8 chromosomes. How many DNA molecules are present in the nucleus at the end of the interphase? Now this is very important. At the end of the interphase, the DNA replication has occurred. Right? At the end of the interphase, the DNA replication has occurred, and you should know that before or at the start of the interphase, the DNA replication has not occurred. You should know that before DNA replication, the number of chromosomes is equal to the number of DNA. The number of chromosomes is equal to the number of DNA before DNA replication. But after DNA replication, what happens? The DNA doubles. However, the chromosome number remains same. So if this cell has 8 chromosomes, then at the end of the interphase, when DNA replication has occurred, then the DNA would be 16. So answer is C. Let's move towards the question MCQ number 21. The diagram shows the chromosomes of a cell at late prophase of mitosis. What will be the appearance of the products of this cell division as they enter prophase of the next division? Because this is mitosis, the chromosome number will be maintained and the picture of the prophase in the next division would be the same. You should know that mitosis produces how many cells? 2 cells, right? So if we will find the 2 cells in the option, the 4 cell options are wrong because the first division will lead to the formation of 2 cells, and those 2 cells will when they enter their prophase, they will have the same number of chromosomes because this division is mitosis and not meiosis. Let's move towards question number 22. To which of the processes shown does mitosis make a contribution? When we talk about genetic variation, so meiosis makes the contribution in genetic variation, not the mitosis. So the answer will be cross. Increase in cell number, yes, mitosis is involved in increasing the cell number. And replacement of damaged cells, yes, if you want to replace the damaged cells, mitosis play a role. 23. The diagram represents the life cycle of an animal. At which stage in the life cycle does mitosis occur? So the option A represents fertilization, when the 2 haploid cells fuse to form a diploid zygote. So A is incorrect. B. The B stage shows that the cell is dividing and the chromosome number is maintained. So the answer is B, because they are asking about mitosis. When we talk about C, C represents meiosis, because the chromosome number is being reduced to half. There is reduction division. And D is again fertilization. Let's move towards the question number 24. The diagram shows an animal cell which is undergoing mitotic division. Which stage of the mitosis has been reached? So we can see that the centrioles are moving towards the opposite poles of the cell, and the nuclear membrane has been broken down. The nuclear membrane has been split, and the chromosomes are arranged randomly. So this stage is prophase. 25. Which process occurs during prophase of mitosis in an animal cell? Okay. So let's see. Division of centromeres. No, centromeres divide during interphase. Sorry, centromeres. It's not centrioles, it's centromeres. So centromeres divide during anaphase, when the chromatids are pulled or when the centromeres are pulled. So centromeres divide during anaphase. Formation of chromosomes. Actually, chromosomes are not formed in a cell. They are already there. We can say that chromosomes replicate, or DNA replicate during interphase. Replication of DNA, it occurs during interphase. Separation of centrioles, yes, it occurs during prophase, when centrioles move towards the opposite poles of the cell. So the answer is D.